Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Spring Move Made Easy with OceanView and Cumberland Crossing by OceanView. My name is Shireen Shahawi, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at OceanView and Cumberland Crossing. And I am joined by folks that I've been joined, who have joined us for many years in the past to have this presentation. We're always excited to welcome them because they answer questions that so many of you ask of us here at OceanView and Cumberland Crossing. Let me tell you really quickly who's speaking, then I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We're going to start out with Simply Sized Home with Liz Pattison and Kim Dorsky, the founders and owners of the organization. We'll go with Sandra Wedland from Legacy Properties Sotheby's to talk about the real estate market and also about things to think about as you're preparing your home for sale. Followed by Jean Libby at Bath Savings, who is a vice president and a loan mortgage officer there, who can talk about the fine points of how do you make this work financially when you're selling a home to come to one of our communities. And then Preston Hughes will bring up next to last, because I'm the last one. Preston will follow Jean. Preston is from Bisson Moving and Storage, and he'll talk to you about the finer points of how to ask the right questions of the people who are going to move your precious belongings. All of these people are available to you to help you, but they're also giving you very broad advice and things to think about and ask of the vendors you might ultimately choose. But we rely on these folks a lot. So I would say that OceanView and Cumberland Crossing recommend these folks with our whole hearts. So please feel free to reach out to them. What we're going to do, let me give you just a quick couple of housekeeping things. All of us are going to depart the screen when the speaker is speaking. If you have questions, if you could please put them in the chat, you'll see that icon at the bottom of your screen. Type in your questions, and once the presenter has finished presenting, I will pose the questions to them so that they don't have to keep track of them as they're presenting. The big thing to know is if it's about customizing a home here or things that aren't really about their content, probably better to reach out to me or to my colleagues, Rita Dennis or Gloria Walker at Cumberland Crossing, if you have more specific questions about customizing a home, for example. You're welcome to take notes today, but please know we are recording this. And then either later today or probably tomorrow, Dustin, my colleague, who you see his little box in the Brady Bunch lineup here, he will send out a link that takes you to the recording of this, but also access to all of our PowerPoints that we use in this presentation. Again, please use the chat box. We'll come back at the very end. And if you have questions, even if it's to the person who spoke 3 people ago, put it in there and we'll ask those at the very end. So I'm going to start with my friends, Liz Pattison and Kim Dorsky, who I see around here quite often at OceanView. And they have been great helps to people who are in that mode of paring down. They will help you with that process and they'll help you think about the best way to do it. And I always use this one bit of advice when I talk to people. I always say, I got it from you. Put all the like stuff in the same place. Don't do it in different places in the house and think that you've done it. Like all the plates need to be together. So I'm going to put myself on mute and turn off my video and let Liz and Kim take it from here. And they can tell you about how their company started, I hope, because I think that's important, and then tell you a little bit about their process. And I'll be back.
Thank you, Shireen and Dustin, for your patience. I am Liz Pattison, and this is my sister, Kim Dorsky. And we started Simply Sized Home 15 years ago.
Yeah, so actually, how we started the business was our parents, who actually live right here in Yarmouth, they kept on telling us to come over to their house and take out our stuff, which was mostly up in the attic. So we went over, and that was after about 20 times of asking us. And we went upstairs in the attic and we sat there for hours and hours. And we came down and Mom said, "That's great. Are you getting rid of everything?" And we said, "No, we are taking it to our house." And she just started laughing. And she said, "You're really going to keep it all?" And I said, "Yeah, it's good stuff." And meanwhile, it's like, letters from camp from 1976, etc. So we started to realize how hard it is for people to part with things. We started our company based on this and knowing that we could add value to helping people through the process and what happens to the things that you part with. And so our company has grown because we kept on filling the need of any of our clients. What did they need us to do in the moving process? So you're going to learn how we help people today.
So our services cover downsizing and stuff management. Do you want to keep it and move it? Do you want to sell or donate? And there's always trash that comes with every move. So moving management, that is the packing and the actual moving. Resettling services, we will help you decide what furniture will fit in your new space. And unpacking boxes, we will also help to prepare your house to go on the market, aka staging.
So the first thing we're going to do is schedule a consultation. Our consultation is free. And basically what this is we're teaching you about our services, but we're learning a heck of a lot from you based on timeline, all different, what are you up against? How much stuff do you have? So it really is helping you, but it's also helping us should you say, yes, we would like to work with you. We're going to jump in and after we are hired, and we're going to start big. And what I mean by that is we're not going to dive into the junk drawer or the attic. We're going to start by getting your head in the game of what furniture do you love and want to move with you. So we start in that fashion and we work with folks' floor plans often. Sometimes it's tough if you don't know where you're living, but we navigate that because we know that you will have a bedroom, you will have a living room, you may have a modified kitchen. So we're going to populate with furniture those areas. And then when you do get a floor plan, we're going to zero right in for you on what can really fit. Measuring and taking photographs of your items to be placed with your guidance.
Okay, we start off by categorizing things. We start big, as we said, what kind of furniture will you be taking? And then we start on the smaller things. Do you want to keep, give away, sell, donate, or recycle and trash?
Here, I am on site. This often happens. People have things stowed away because family members say, can you keep this? This is grandma's china, etc. Oftentimes the things haven't even been unpacked. So you can see I am unpacking things, categorizing. And what this serves is for family members to come and view. They select what they want. Then we drop down to the next level of what can be sold from what has been displayed. And then it's a staging for sell, donate, and trash. This is a perfect example of us working through, here's a grandfather clock that was on the sell roster. So we're working with outlets. What audience should this particular item be sold to? Does it go to auction? Does it go to an antique dealer's shop? So we're working through these levels with you and you being at the top and your family. What's moving with you? What do your family members want?
After we try to sell as much as possible through auction and consignment shops, there are always donations. And we work with a number of charities in the Portland area. Pianos are particularly difficult to sell, and you'll see that most are donated. Almost in all cases, they're donated. And this was a wonderful school that was taking this piano for us. But we also work with Habitat for Humanity, Maine Needs, Partners for World Health. There's, the majority of stuff can be donated. So we try to make sure that things get into the hands of people who can use it.
This is actually our first job ever, 15 years ago. And we work with the Dump Guys, and they are an awesome organization. And they're the ones that come in at the very end when everyone else has passed things by. So we've had the move happen. We've had the auction house in. We've had all different donation outlets. And then if they pass things by, this is the final stop. And we work with the Dump Guys. We're going to transition now to talk about staging. Sandra is actually going to talk quite a bit about the importance of this, but we do dovetail with brokers to execute their plan. There are different things that we focus on. Cosmetically, what do we want the house to look like? Pre-packing. There are also things that need to be highlighted or addressed that are perhaps structural. Here's an example of a kitchen that was very crowded. And the takeaway here is less is better. You don't need the coffee maker out there and the toaster oven and all different things. Less is better, and clean surfaces. Also, if people want to keep the things, that's fine. Either we tuck them below in a cabinet, or perhaps you don't need it until after the move. So why don't we pre-pack it and get you partially towards packing and on your way into the moving truck. Here is an example of something that would raise a red flag. You can see that a screen is broken. And what happened here was there was water damage from windows being left open. It's very important that you remove red flags for buyers. What we did here was it was from windows being left open in rain. We had the cushions redone for $250, and this was the result. So from this to this, which helps a buyer move forward without making a price reduction of, I think this place needs a new roof, therefore we're going to reduce the asking price by $50,000. So it's very important the way that you are presenting your biggest asset. And that's the key with staging, okay?
All right, so your house has gone on the market. It has now sold. Congratulations. It's time to start packing. For packing, there is always a moving timeline. We will hire the movers for you, depending on what size move you have. We work with a number of different movers, large being Bisson, and very experienced movers. So we will quote the movers, pack all the contents of your house, clearly label the boxes as to what room they will go to. We try to really mainstream it so that it is a very smooth move on move day. Those movers know where the boxes will go. And this is a photo of movers that are moving. It was a beautiful day. They were able to bring things out on the lawn, and the actual clients of this house had already moved out. They had already started their trek down to Florida, and we were covering move day for them. So it's helpful when it's a nice day, but it's not always. And the movers, they're experienced for that.
Okay, so resettling services. So this, okay, here's the sad realization. The move is only halfway done. But We're going to recharge our batteries and we're going to transition. We're going to work with the movers. We know where the furniture is going because you have helped us decide that. We're going to lead the movers through. We have photos that we put down and we say, this is where this goes. The movers do their job and place the furniture, and we start unpacking. So here is a typical move day. You can see the bed is there, the movers put it together. We need to unpack. The client is sleeping here tonight, okay? We need to unpack, get the bed made. We want the lights put on the bedside tables. We need to remove the packaging from items. We need to remove tripping hazards and check all that. So here we are. This is unpacking the kitchen. We are unpacking, putting the kitchen away, removing all the packing paper and the boxes, and we are striving to have it well, it can't, as much as possible can be done. If we can't unpack the whole thing, generally we are coming back the next day. We are stacking boxes neatly so there are no tripping hazards for folks in their new home going to the bathroom at night, and we don't want them tripping up. This is what we actually strive to have people come home to. Maybe you've been out on an outing with your kids up at the botanical gardens or out to lunch, and we are hustling to have you walk into your new home so that it looks like this. Not everything may be put away into the blanket chest, and you'll notice that the art isn't quite on the wall because that's fun for you to decide. But the house, it's instantly a home for you. And that is one thing that we provide is the resettling, and it's just almost kind of miraculous. And we love to have people come home and walk in.
It's a long day, so it's nice to have a bed that's made and food in the refrigerator so that you can hopefully relax a bit. This is a picture of our team. We are now 18 people. We have a mid-coast team, so we're growing.
We can never get everyone in the same place to take a picture, but most people are still there. Actually, that's Liz's husband right behind her. He's our token male. He backs a trailer up much better than any of us.
So we're part of the National Association of Senior Move and Specialty Move Managers. We have been part of this group since we started in 2011. And it's a recognition of we have to go take a bunch of courses, and it's a code of ethics that we have met, and this has become especially helpful when folks are moving out of state. And what NASM will provide is a list of moving managers, much like ourselves, but in the city or town that you're moving to. So if you're moving to Florida, we would type in your new zip code and up would pop the senior move managers in your area. So they can then help you resettle in your new home if you're moving out of state. And this is our contact information. You can email us or call us. We try to get back to you within 24 hours. So we're always available.
So thank you. That is us, SimplySized Home. If you would like a consultation or need any information or just want to call with a question, we encourage you to call us. We love working with clients. It's the people part of it is why we do it. It's a big project, but we absolutely adore our clients and would love to hear from you if you are feeling overwhelmed and need some help. So thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, you guys. This is great. We do have a few questions, so let's tackle those. Um, do you work with local auction shops? Is there a market for Oriental rugs and cherry furniture?
Mm.
So, the market is definitely changing. There is a market for Oriental rugs. However, it's quite different. So larger Oriental rugs are much harder than smaller ones. Larger Oriental rugs, we actually have a team member that we hired specifically. She represents things on Facebook Marketplace. That is the only way that large Oriental rugs can be sold.
Anything bigger than 8 by 10 is considered large.
The smaller ones, we generally work with auction houses. They can go to storefront antique dealers. It's really hard. Things are not moving like they used to. So generally, things are going to auction because a shop would take very few things in, an antique dealer shop. But we work with anyone that you would like us to work with. We do not take any kickback or any portion of the proceeds from anyone that we're selling with. We're just trying to work with really honest people in the industry and solve what you need solved. Okay?
Is there a market for cherry furniture? I'm curious.
Oh, cherry furniture, Yes, there is. Sometimes it's accepted at Heirloom Consignment, which is in South Portland. Otherwise, it can go to auction. It does
Facebook
not do
Marketplace.
well, and it can go Facebook Marketplace.
Okay. I'm going to answer Kate's question for it is I had to arrive late and leave early. Will viewing be available later remotely? And Kate, yes, for sure. If you signed up and we have your email address, you will get an email with a link to the recording of this, as well as all of our PowerPoints so that you can look at them specifically. This one, I've never had this question before, but maybe you guys have. Do you provide items for the new home if there's a need, such as a nightstand with lamps or linens or et cetera? I don't know if you do that or not.
We
Yes, we can.
we can assist with buying things if that's what you need. Sometimes when folks move to a smaller home, they have to get smaller furniture. So yes, we can assist with that.
Mhm.
Great. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
We
Um,
can.
do you work with people moving from New Hampshire?
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to say, I thought you would go that far.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yes,
Yep.
we go out of state and can run complete jobs out of state or from out of state in, etc. Yep.
This one might be harder. Can you provide a cost range for packing up, clearing out, staging a home that will go on the market? I suspect that varies based on size and contents, but
It sure does. We're happy to do a walkthrough. Some people say we don't have a lot of stuff, and we walk in and our eyes are like, whoop. So it's really hard, honestly. I mean, if we,
And the size of the house.
yeah,
Um,
but maybe 50 hours on a just an
average.
average house. But again, we really need to see it. It's not fair for you or for us to say that.
because you do that complimentary meeting, so you can give people a
Right.
ballpark at that
Yes.
point, right?
Yeah, and that's part of the purpose of the consultation
Yeah.
is to see how much.
And is that something that you were talking about the ethics of the trade organization you're a part of? Is that part of that is like making sure people know pricing up front and things like that, or projected pricing?
Not so much with the NASM, but it's just for us to give an accurate quote. Do they have an entire basement that flooded and is full of trash? Is that going to be a major component of their total cost to move? So, yeah.
And a lot of times, family members will help. Children will come in and they'll be part of, the sorting and the helping their parents. So that can really affect how many hours we can estimate.
Mhm.
Great. I know this next person, and I think I know the answer. Betty asks, does your mid-coast reach extend as far as Noblesboro? And I'm thinking yes. I thought so. I could answer these for you. So fun anyway. How do you work with a move that starts outside of Maine? It's sort of the reverse, right? So the people start with a company like yours wherever they are, and then they might reach out to you
Absolutely.
to do the
Actually,
back end.
we're doing one currently right into OceanView. And we just work in tandem with them. We ask for photos. We can do FaceTime with them for furniture placement.
Yep.
We know when the truck is scheduled to come in. We've got time booked on our calendar. So it's very doable. We've packed entire houses and made decisions on FaceTime with people. They've never even been on premises. So we're very used to doing that.
Well,
We
I do
just want
tours on FaceTime, so I get it.
Yeah.
We do
Yeah.
tours, yeah. Great. I think that sort of covers the next question is how would you handle a move from Philadelphia? Probably what we were just talking about. You would connect with a like company in Philadelphia and you could work together to whatever extent that person wanted, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Kate, you're welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got to thank you for the recording. Oh, here's a really nice one. I just wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to SimplySized Home, who have been working with me the last few months to help with downsizing. They are truly amazing. From Ann R. I bet you know who that is. I can tell you
Oh,
who it is
thank
if you
you,
need.
Anne.
The last question I have here, and I have one other one on a different place. Do you charge by the job or by the hour? If by the hour, what is the cost per hour?
We charge hourly. We're $85 per person per hour. And that's for whatever we're doing. It's furniture placement, it's packing, it's on site with the movers. The consultation is free.
Free.
And we're happy to share contacts if need be. But we're also happy to say if you need us to work one day, people have budgets. What is it that we can do to help you? We can do the entire thing, soup to nuts, done. You walk in and it's done, or we can just let's do one day together and we will outline things for you and we will help you any way we can.
Yep.
No, that was one of my side questions here. And then the one that no one else asked, but I will ask, what's the lead time for your services currently? And I'm sure there's a ebb and flow, but
There is an ebb and
what do you
flow.
hope for? What's the best case scenario for advanced timing?
Well,
As soon as possible. As soon as you know that you're moving.
everything is deadline driven in our business. So things need to be shifted around. You have someone coming home from physical therapy, they need their house done as safe. So we shift things around. Honestly, we're probably booking out probably 3 weeks now.
But it's a lot less stressful for everyone even if you call a year in advance.
Right.
I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about moving. What can I do to prepare? Because there are things that we can't do for you, like go through paperwork, that kind of stuff. You can start doing in advance, and it just cuts down on the stress.
Yeah, I mean, the consultation is actually pretty amazing because we literally see people's anxiety melt away. We outline for them what they need, what they're going to do. This is what it looks like. We are able to line up, okay, they have 3 floors of antiques and they're not taking anything with it. We get right in the game. And whether you choose to hire us or not, we know what you're up against, what we're up against, how this whole puzzle is going to fit together. By the end of the consult, we can just this is the way it's going to be, or this is what you need. So the consult is key for you because it puts your mind at ease. And it's key for us because we got to line up, all these different resources for your puzzle. Okay.
One last question someone asked, and I think this probably, again, based on the size. What's the average range of number of people you would use from your company to pack up a house and make it ready for sale?
Hmm.
So we're going to have consistency at your house. You're going to have a lead person, likely kind of two people that are leads. If you need to turn your house around quickly, you need it packed up. We're going to increase the number of people and decrease the number of days. But generally, if we've got a decent timeline, we might set something up where like once a week for 5 weeks or whatever it is. We'll always have a final pack day the day before. Again, if we need more hands on deck, we're going to increase our people. So we have a lot of art to pack. We're going to have two specialized art people from our team come in while the other people are chipping away at packing the china. So we're constantly drawing because it's deadline driven. And so we're going to increase or decrease based on whatever the timeline is. But if we can spread it out so that you're not stressed or peppered with all the decisions, we're going to try and spread it out for you and work at your pace.
Your pace is every job is different depending on the clients. You know, sometimes they can work from 9 to 12. Sometimes they can work from 9 to 3. You know, we really customize depending on the situation.
And then I'm sorry, one more last one. And I know who this is too. This is really fun for me because I recognize the names. Do you sponsor estate sales?
We
That's a tough one.
Yeah, we work with someone that does do estate sales. We have dabbled in it a little bit of running our own estate sales with one of our employees being the lead on it. Um,
It's a lot goes into estate sales, volume of things to be sold, the location has to be right. If it's in a condominium complex community, not even allowed. So there are all these different things that we have to, these check things that we go through to have it be successful because it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work for you, which translates into money. It can be lucrative, but you got to get, it just has to be smart all the way around.
Mhm.
So we can look at it, we can talk about it.
the
Right.
time of year, the parking, there's a
Right.
lot to consider.
Absolutely. I can understand that. The last one was, this is helpful info. Thank you. So I wanted to make sure you knew that.
Oh,
And you used the word hustle, Kim, and in one of your talking points, I can verify. I have seen these ladies and their team hustling around our communities. They take really great care of people down to like, did the coffee maker make it over here or the toaster oven make it over here? Oh, you can use one of ours until we find it or whatever, right? I've seen you do that. So they take
Yeah,
great
true.
care of people. So I've seen it firsthand. So thank you, both of you. Folks, if you have more questions for Liz and Kim, we'll come back at the end and sort of do a round robin of questions. But thank you, you two. And now we'll go to Sandra, who's going to talk to us about the whole idea of selling the house, what that looks like in the marketplace right now, what you should do to get your house ready. As we sort of joked around that Sandra has a two-part presentation because she talks about the market, but then she also talks about what does the sales process look like and what do you need to do to get ready. So I'm going to bow out and let this professional who gets this stuff jump in and give you some great information, and then we'll come back and take your questions. Thank you, Sandra, so much for being here. Take it away.
Thank you for the intro, and I can vouch Liz and Kim do a fantastic job. And anytime you can start planning your move in advance is advisable, whether it be 3 years from now or 6 months from now, the sooner the better. My name is Sandra Wenlin. I work for Legacy Properties, Sotheby's International Realty. I have been a realtor for over 2 decades. And I love what I do. I got into real estate after working in corporate finance due to corporate relocations that my family had endeavored. And I felt like I was always a number or a transaction to the realtors. And I saw there was a need to have a highly personalized experience. So I really like to work closely with my clients, get to know them, advocate for them, and work in their best interests. So as a seasoned real estate agent, really what I work with you on is buyers and sellers evaluating what their current real estate needs are, whether it be upsizing or downsizing or buying a new home, and help them with the planning process all the way from where do I want to go or what am I thinking about doing all the way to the closing of a successful sale. And I sometimes bring my favorite little dog, Doc, along the way. He's my perfect little assistant. Last year I did this presentation, and the prediction for the 2025 real estate market was it was going to be a good time to sell, that interest rates would be falling to close to or even below 6% by the end of the year. And perhaps that might lead to a thawing of the real estate market. So just as we're thawing into the spring with all of our snow melting this week, the market is beginning to thaw. And what that means is that interest rates are dropping. There's some instability right now, that there's more buyers entering the market because it's more affordable for them, and more homes are being listed on the market. As a seller, it's still a really good time to sell. If anybody asks me, how's the market doing? I always say it's doing great. Homes that come on the market in good condition are ready to be presented well, photographed well, are always selling. If you're pricing it right, homes are going to sell. We are also seeing that folks like yourself have finally made the decision to make some moves where maybe the last 5 years you decided not to do anything. Interest rates had shot up from what you were used to seeing under 3% all the way up to 8%, and you just didn't feel that now was a good time to move. So now that we've seen some stabilization, life change events are causing folks to move, whether it's downsizing or families growing. We're starting to see more activity in the market, and therefore we're going to see more inventory for home sales this year. That's not a bad thing. In Maine, we're looking at the national market. You currently have what we consider a somewhat balanced market with about 4.5 to 5 months of available inventory. That means it's good for buyers and it's good for sellers. In Maine, we're still seeing that we're poised with about, more on the 2 to 3 month range in general. So we're still in a seller's market, but as inventory ticks up, it was very slow this winter because of the overall amount of snow we received. More and more homes are going to come on the market, and we're going to kind of probably tick up a little bit more towards that national market. But again, home sales should stay relatively very strong this year. Looking at the Maine market more specifically, you can see some where we've traveled from 2021 all the way to 2025. And really what we're looking at for this year's market, buyers are going to have a few more options. We're going to forecast that the sales prices are going to remain very steady, and the overall market condition should be, pretty healthy and balanced, creating a good market for both buyers and sellers. I'm going to pull it back a little bit into just the Cumberland County market. I know some of you are local, but some of you are also from out of the area. But if we look at Cumberland County, where OceanView is currently located, we are looking at sales prices being up year over year from February last year to February this year at 0.7%, with inventory still lower. Again, a lot of that had to do with the snow. Homes are averaging 33 days on market. So if I were to go back and look at a presentation I did during COVID, this number would have probably been closer to 2 to 3 days on the market. So again, homes are selling, but they're taking a little bit longer to sell, but they're still achieving a 98% 0.8% of list price, which is excellent. We do expect more inventory to come on the spring, but again, I think that overall the market should remain very strong. I like to show this because it's a good education and a reminder of where interest rates have been over the years. I know I bought my first home with an interest rate of 11%, so it's really hard when I hear first-time home buyers now, squawking at 6%. But historically, we have had interest rates as high as 18% back in the 1980s. We dipped incredibly low in, the 2020 era, and we're back and we've tipped up, and now we're kind of stabilizing in that 6% range. So as long as we hover in that 6% range, more buyers can afford homes, and with interest rates remaining stable, I think, again, that's going to be a driver as to more buyers coming into the market, which is great for you as a seller. So what happens when you call a realtor to discuss listing your home? I think this is a really important topic of conversation because every realtor does things a little bit different. And it's really important that when you're shopping for a realtor, that you're finding someone who is going to be a full service realtor. Anyone can list a home and put it into MLS, but really we want to make sure that you're finding someone who can basically hold your hand all the way through, keep the stress levels at minimum, have a great toolbox of if you need a handyman, if you need a painter, if you need a stager, if we need to work with a lender, if we need to look at your finances, that can really sit down and evaluate the whole package for you to make you feel really comfortable about the next steps of selling your property. So when you contact a realtor, the first thing what we will do is we will schedule a home tour. We'll arrange a time that works best for you and for us, and we'll come over, might have a coffee, a glass of water. We'll have a genuine conversation as to what's happening in life, what your intentions are, what time frame, and even you might be calling because you are thinking about selling your home in a couple of years, and that's okay because it is a process. Through that assessment, we're also going to take a tour of your home, take some notes on the condition. We're going to look at your mechanicals, your roof, your siding, your yard, your paint, the age of your cabinetry in your kitchen, your countertops. And we're making very detailed notes so that when we take that information away, we can prepare a market analysis for you that compares your home to other homes that have sold in the area in similar condition. If there are homes that are in better condition or in lesser condition, then we will take the information from your home to make adjustments to find an accurate price range for valuation of your home. We will then come back with a follow-up meeting and we'll meet with you. We'll review the pricing and go over the comparable homes in the market analysis and why some were, maybe one sold higher than what we're recommending for your home. Discuss that with you. My job as a realtor is to educate you, make you feel comfortable, guide you so that you can make good decisions. Ultimately, you set the sales price of your home with us giving you the information so that you can make a good educated decision. Through that process, we also will be bringing together for you a customized marketing plan for your home. It might be, my next slide is actually going to show you some details, but really discussing anything that we've noted when we've gone through your home. So when I'm making notes, I might have noted that the dining room should be painted, or we need to declutter an attic space, or maybe we want to rearrange furniture, and it might just be an overall recommendation that we're going to stage the property. What I'm assessing and my recommendations are going to be to provide you the best value so that we can maximize the profit on the sale of your home. Next thing you should always ask an agent is what their qualifications are. It is very easy for one to print off from you in multiple listing what the number of homes that they've sold and where they're located, just so you can get an idea of what their overall experience is. And also always ask for some testimonials. What have other clients said about your services? And sometimes some folks will even ask me if I can provide them with a list of references with some names and phone numbers from past sellers. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. A good agent is more than happy to provide you with that information. So once you've gone through this process, it is now time to make the decision of whether or not this agent is the right fit for you. And if so, we would move on to listing paperwork. So I'm going to back up a little bit as to what an agent is doing and what some marketing plans will look like. This isn't a marketing plan, but it really shows you step by step of the little items that we're doing behind the scenes. Just for sake of time, I'm not going to read through all of them because you will get this presentation, but really we're going to review your property. We're going to make sure that you have any work that's been done on the property is permitted. We're going to find your septic records and your tax card and make sure we know what the taxes are and pull together a extremely comprehensive packet for your property. The reason we do this is that we want, when a buyer walks in the door, to receive a very detailed packet of all information so that they don't have to ask questions and they've already been provided everything that they could possibly need to know about your property. We're also going to schedule in that time frame, we will schedule our photographers, our videographers, begin preparing booklets and e-blast that will go out to all the local realtors. We'll begin advertising your property, getting postcards together, and we'll continue that marketing for pretty much about a 2-week process to make sure everything is perfectly fine-tuned, because when you come on the market, you've got one opportunity to look your best, and it's important that we have everything fine-tuned for you. It's also really important to have good communication after the listing goes on the market. So if we're realizing that it might take a month, and if more inventory comes on, maybe it takes 2 months to sell your property, you don't want your home to come on the market and not hear from the agent. So communication is really important. I'm a firm believer that when there's good communication, it really alleviates stress. You know that somebody's working for you. It's not that they just put your listing in multiple listing and walked away and waiting for the phone to ring. We are going to be proactive in reaching out to you, providing you information, making sure if it's a property that allows for an open house, having open house, calling other agents to see if they've got buyers who are interested, maybe hosting a broker luncheon where we can all the realtors in the area to tour your home. And it's really important that you understand what we're doing along the way, because if your home doesn't have an offer in the first 2 to 3 weeks, you are going to feel stressed and you will lose some sleep and get a little bit worried. And so when you know that somebody is out there and really advocating for you and reassuring you that everything is going to be okay, it really goes a long ways. And at the end of the day, we want you to be really comfortable, and we will sell your home. There is certainly a buyer for every home. So when we're looking at pricing today, one thing that I know Liz and Kim started to talk a little bit about was staging. Staging your home, even if it's just using your own goods and we're rearranging things and decluttering, can really maximize the value of your home. Staged homes always yield a higher sales price. Sometimes people will say, well, I'll just move out and you can sell my empty home. That will actually can devalue your property. And if we have an empty home, we always recommend staging, just because buyers need to be able to vision themselves living in the space or their furnishings and what fits. And believe it or not, empty homes feel smaller than they actually are. So we also want to look at, when we've looked at the market analysis, are we pricing the home correctly? We know now that if your home isn't under contract within the first 30 days, it will be important to adjust the price and make sure that you are in the market. And that is something that we would advise you along the way on our really almost daily communication once your home is on the market. And it's always good to note that occasionally I can give you a quick story. I had somebody who was looking to, wanted to list their home higher than the recommended price. This one was last fall. And I said we would try it on the condition on day 30. If it wasn't under contract, they would come to my price. Day 27, they called me and said, you were right. We need to adjust the price. They adjusted the price and it was under contract within a few days. Ultimately, it brought a lot of activity and they were really surprised at the difference of how quickly we had additional activity. Buyers are very savvy. They are researching properties. They're working with buyer's agents. So pricing your property correctly in the market is very important. And when it comes down to negotiations, I always say once your home goes under contract and maybe there's inspections and there's something that needs to be negotiated, don't be stubborn, be realistic, because there are sometimes sellers that want to kind of dig in their heels and don't want to fix something for a buyer. And it's very possible you could lose that buyer. So just be smart. So buyers want to see a home that is as turnkey as possible. They love things that are move-in ready, nothing's broken or loose or rusty, fresh paint, any old wallpaper has been removed. They love super clean homes and manicured yards. Smaller yards have become more and more desirable as they like to have an active lifestyle and less time wanting to have to maintain a yard. And statistically, 81% of buyers say it's easier for them to visualize themselves in a home when it's been staged. And realtors say 83% of their buyers prefer that staged home. So again, those are some pretty strong statistics to look at. This is a property that I had in the fall. They were folks that were downsizing. And they called me, and at my first visit, I walked through and I took some pictures and came back and provided them a marketing plan. With that marketing plan, I had already had my painter provide me with an estimate of what it would take to go in and do some painting for them. And I had a staging quote ready to go to have a stager come in and just fine tune some things with a very minimal investment. You can see the before of the dining room and what the after effect was, and same with the kitchen. So sometimes when we're removing rugs and just have a few things on the countertops and really neutralizing a home, it really appeals to the mass buyer pool. Here's a few more photos. This one always gets me because the living room was very Christmassy. It had the green walls, which was a beautiful paint color, and some nice red furniture, but it just felt dark and heavy. So my recommendation was to paint. We utilized their own furnishings, as you can see, but we decluttered and we moved around some artwork in the home. And this was with their own furnishing. So a lot can be done. I work directly with yourself. Many times I bring in bedding and you know, as somebody mentioned about end tables and lamps. If we have items available, we'll bring them in. If not, I do have a local stager that I work with that will help maximize the value of your home. So what's a seller to expect this year? Covered it a little bit, but really looking at the local market, we are going to see the inventory continue to increase. If I had a crystal ball, that would be a guarantee on my end. Buyers are also back to conducting home inspections. So we want to have your home in the best condition as possible. We can discuss every property is unique and different, but sometimes we do a pre-listing inspection if we feel that we might be able to drive you quickly into multiple offers. We're back to seeing buyer financing, and we're even sometimes seeing home sale contingencies. Appraisals are happening. There's no more drive-by appraisals, so real appraisers taking their time. And multiple offers still are a possibility, and there are still homes that sell within the first couple of days. So as a attendee of today, I'm more than welcome to provide you with a complimentary real estate session. Even if you're out of the area, I heard somebody say they were in the down in Philly and somebody in New Hampshire. I welcome a call. I do work with Sotheby's affiliates across the globe, and I do know and have great connections with Sotheby's affiliates in all the major markets. So happy to make a connection and answer any questions you might have about what you need to prep your home. The reality is you need to pretty much do the same thing in any market if you really want to maximize the value. And I also want to impress upon that one-on-one conversations will go much further than just the general information that I've provided today. This was very high level, but really diving into what your goals are, what can we do to help you, what are your concerns, and make this process as easy as I possibly can for you. So I welcome a phone call. My phone number is on the screen, and I know that Shireen will be sending out contact information as well as the presentation today. So again, I always ask everybody to provide some testimonials. We'll just kind of skip through those. And that wraps up my presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sandra. I saw a couple of those before you changed the screen, and I know you have a lot of happy customers that work with you. So I'm glad that people will get to see that when they get the link from us with all of this information. There are a few questions. One was, what percentage are going over asking these days? Has that changed a lot in the last few years, or is...
It's changed tremendously. And every market's different. I can give you like a quick snapshot where Portland condo market, if I were to give you, if you had a condo in Portland versus a home in Falmouth, all the statistics and numbers would be entirely different. So it depends on what type of property, what condition it's in, and if it's priced correctly. So again, those variables will be identified with a one-on-one session with a real estate agent.
Great. Are open houses still a big thing? It felt like they went out of vogue for a while, but I don't know if they're back in.
So there's multiple ways that you can look at an open house. I've been in this business for a few decades. So, I look back early in my career, and I was an agent in Massachusetts, and everybody had open houses, and open houses were wonderful. And but in all honesty, I always felt that open houses were a great way for a listing agent to get new business, whether other sellers were coming to tour the house because they were curious what their competition might look like, or buyers were just curious. So there used to be a national statistic that 1% of homes sell via open house. I always assess each property and whether or not it makes sense to have an open house. I have done open house, actually for someone who now lives at OceanView. Last summer I did one. It was a lake property, but it was just staged. They had none of their personal furnishings. And, it was a property that I knew would sell in multiple offers. And so we did something called Coming Soon. It was a 10-day pre-listing to get the hype out. And I probably had 20 to 30 people attend the open house, and we had 5 offers. So can that happen in today's market? Absolutely. But there's risk to a seller of having an open house as well, because it is your personal home. So we always have a conversation of, if we're having a open house, all personal items need to be secure. Jewelry, prescription drugs. If you have any expensive artwork, we might not want to open your home to the public. So every property is unique and special, and that would be a one-on-one conversation.
Wonderful. Okay, some more here. Does online marketing of the listing include only Realtor.com, the MLS, or does Sotheby's use national digital magazines and websites?
Oh, we have incredible reach. So one of the reasons I've been with Sotheby's for so long, and I actually have a completely different presentation that I provide with sellers, but we are Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Architectural Digest. We are all the way from China to England, and our global reach is incredible. And that's truly why I stay with Sotheby's. There is no, and why I went to Sotheby's as an agent many years ago. There is no other company that has the expanse and capability. And we have this phrase in our company. We have been Legacy Property Sotheby's in Portland. We have been in business for 20 years. And we sell more homes than any other real estate company in Maine for more money than any other real estate company. We're number one at home sales over 550,000, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, and waterfront. So we certainly have a niche market. And it's not just that that print, that internet marketing. We have print marketing. Also, with every property, we do 3D tours. At least I do 3D tours, professional photography, as well as video. Everybody loves video now.
Right. No, yeah, we know that here too. Is staging included in the broker commission? I think no, but I'll let you. And then,
Yeah, staging is always on a one-on-one basis. And sometimes when people think they need staging, they don't. I just did a house and the staging was $2,200. So it just really depends on what they need. And it's much more reasonable than what you would anticipate it being.
and then part two of that same question, can you explain the agent commission that was clarified in August 2024 that they don't understand? And I remember you talked about it a little bit last year even.
Yeah, I would say it's a long conversation. Whoever asked that question, please jot down my phone number. You can give me a call this afternoon. I can explain it. Throughout the US, it is now standard practice that we cannot advertise buyer agency commissions in multiple listing. So our listing agreements will show a listing agent commission, and it will show what one is willing to pay a buyer's agent. We have found that in the greater Portland area, and I'm on Zoom calls weekly with Sotheby's affiliates from across the US, that we are still seeing sellers pay a buyer's agent commission as well. Buyer's agents are now writing it into the offers, requesting the commission to be paid because we cannot advertise it in multiple listings. So that's the short answer.
Okay. Is it now becoming advisable for the seller to do their own home inspection prior to listing their home so there are no surprises?
It depends on the property, but I will tell you, I'm usually in favor of having a pre-home inspection. It's important that you use the right inspector. It is one of those things where there's inspectors that have great reputations in the real estate industry, and there's some that don't have a great reputation. So even if you have a pre-home inspection, it still is possible that a buyer is going to want to conduct their own home inspection with a different inspector, and a new inspector working for a buyer might find items that are completely different than the inspection you had to begin with. So again, it's a case by case. I always like to assess the home, try to get a real gauge and understanding. It might be that someone has said to me, my septic is from the 1980s and I'm concerned about it. I probably would be concerned about it when I pull your septic report and say, well, maybe we should have a septic inspection before we list it, because if you're having to pay for a new septic system at the tune of $20,000, we would have increased your home a little bit. The price initially would have been higher to recoup the value of that new septic inspection, or not, sorry, septic system.
I had that with a camp I sold, so I get it. How far in advance of moving do I need to list my home?
Oh, these are all loaded questions.
I know, these are hard ones.
It really depends on, multiple layers. Sometimes folks will tell me, I just want to move to OceanView and get settled, and I want to clean out my house and make this an easy transition and then list my home. Other times people will say, I really need to get my home sold. I've got a date for OceanView and here's our goal. So we would align it up with the market at that snapshot. So I can look at the market today and I can look at the market in 6 months from now, and it can be a completely different market. So I will tell you that that answer is going to change on a regular basis. What I highly advise is having that conversation now with a realtor, or give me a call, because, for example, if I know that you've got a unit that's going to be move-in ready in December, we might do a strategy that we're going to photograph your home in June when your gardens are pristine, because it's the best time of year that we're to photograph them. And, it might be, August when we want to list your house, or we might be able to list it in July with a contingency stating that you can't move out until a specific date. There's so many variables. There's also ways to negotiate that you would be able to list your property, close on it, and rent it back for 4 months until your next property is ready. So it really depends on the actual property, its location, and who your property appeals to.
We have quite a few people who I think do the rent back, just to know that it's done and be ready. I wanted to talk about one thing you said. Empty homes feel smaller. I find that too when we show an empty apartment or an empty cottage. When I go back after the person has moved in and their belongings are there, I go, wow, this feels so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Because quite often I see them when they're empty, and then I see them, after people move stuff in. So you're right. It really does change the feeling. But
Yeah, I've worked with developers for 20 years, and it took one of my developers a little while to realize it. But whenever we build a spec home, we always put furnishings in it. And I will tell you, if I were to put it on the market, I could put it on the market for 3 months empty, and people would have a hard time with it. The minute we put furniture in it, it's warm, it's inviting, it feels larger, and it makes a tremendous impact.
yeah. Well, thank you, Sandra, so much. I
Thank
know that
you.
this is quite the lift to do this presentation because it has so many moving parts, and we so appreciate you doing it.
Oh, always my pleasure. And again, I truly welcome a phone call. I do my best. Sometimes after these, I get slammed with phone calls, which is absolutely fine with me. But give me 24 hours to return your call, but I will get back to you as quickly as I possibly
And I
can.
know you will. I know you work with folks here a lot, so thank you. Our next speaker is Jean Libby, who I feel like I've known for half a lifetime. Full disclosure, I am a raving fan of Bath Savings Institution, have been a customer for probably 30 plus years. I call them the Cheers Bank because they always know your name. And Jean will go over for you some of the ins and outs of how do you make this all work when you're trying to sell a house to use those proceeds to come here to OceanView or Cumberland Crossing. Jean will give you some great ideas and things to think about as you look at the financials around a move here. So I'm going to let you take it away, and we'll take questions at the end. Thanks, Jean.
Thank you, Shireen. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you all this afternoon. As Shireen mentioned, my name is Jean Libby, and I am Vice President, Senior Retail Lender here at Bath Savings. I've been here for 24 years, and I am excited to be sharing with you some guidance this afternoon on financing options that can support your move to OceanView and Cumberland Crossing. So today we're going to talk about how to choose that right financial partner for you, exploring short-term loan options, understanding what you'll need to apply for the loan, and reviewing the financing process and timeline, which is so important. First slide, thank you. When we talk about financing, what you're really looking for is how do we bridge that gap? How do we bridge the time that you are moving to OceanView or Cumberland Crossing and then selling your house? Typically, a bridge loan is done on a primary or second home, and then the debt would be paid off once you have sold. It is important to know also that some banks and credit unions won't offer bridge loans if your home is already on the market. First slide, please. The first and most common financing option is a home equity line of credit. This is a revolving line of credit that is based on the equity that you have in your home. Most banks will lend 80 to 90% of that home value minus any mortgages that you currently have. This is important if you're currently on the waiting list or just beginning conversations with the folks at OceanView. You can start this process of getting this line of credit in order now, so that when Shireen gives you that call saying that there's a unit available and it's perfect for you, you're all ready, and that takes some stress off that next step of moving. With the line of credit, you don't pay any interest until you begin drawing the funds from the line of credit. Once you draw on it, your obligation typically is a monthly interest-only payment until your home is sold. And that interest rate is generally variable and is tied in with the federal prime rate. If needed, the home equity line of credit draw period is for 10 years, or when you sell your home, whichever comes first. There are closing costs associated with a home equity line of credit, and those will depend on every financial institution will be a little bit different. Same thing with how they're going to determine the value of your home. Sometimes it's just a quick real estate evaluation, or it can be up to a full appraisal of your home, depending on mostly the amount that you're requesting. The turnaround time for a home equity line of credit is typically 3 to 4 weeks, but again, it can vary depending on the lender, and it may take longer, which is why you might want to be prepared sooner than later. Next slide, please. The next option is a traditional bridge loan. There are some key differences between the bridge loan and the home equity line of credit. The maximum term for a traditional bridge loan is 1 year. The funds are fully advanced, which means you'll be making a principal and interest payment right away. And also, we need to keep in mind for either the home equity or the home equity line of credit or the bridge loan that you would, if it's on a primary residence, have a 3-day right of rescission period, which we need to build into your timing of your move to OceanView. This rescission period applies to all loans that are secured by a primary residence and gives you time after closing should you decide not to move forward with the financing. The other note on the 3-day rescission period is that cannot be waived. Again, rates for a traditional bridge loan are adjustable and tied in with the federal prime rate. Typically, the turnaround time for a traditional bridge loan is a little bit longer at 4 to 6 weeks. And again, that debt would be paid off once you have sold your home. Next slide, please. Federal regulations apply to all banks. So we all have the same regulations that we need to adhere by. While a credit union has their own regulatory requirements, which may differ slightly. Sandra mentioned that appraisals are becoming more common, and the same thing is for a bridge loan or a home equity line of credit. Depending on the amount, an appraisal would be needed if you're looking to borrow more than $400,001. But that appraisal does need to be ordered by your lender. So you always want to make sure that you have the lender order it, because if you order it as the consumer, in most cases that would not be able to be used by the lender as it was done for you, and wouldn't contain all of the compliance standards that are required. Again, also note, I want to just quickly go back to the 3-day right of to cancel. This would, just for an example for timing, if you were to close your loan or line of credit on Monday, the funds would not be available till Friday. So I always like to build this time frame into any conversation that I'm having, especially if we have a tight timeline when your funds are due to OceanView or Cumberland Crossing. And also just a reminder, everything that we're talking about today as far as products, rates, closing costs, timelines, these can vary from financial institution and credit unions. It's important to speak to your financial partner to confirm what options are available to you and how long it would take for them to complete that request for you. Next slide, please. So items that you would gather for your application, typically we would request 2 years of tax returns, W-2s and 1099s. W-2s and pay stubs would be if you were still employed. Social Security and pension award letters that show what your monthly income will be. Legal description of your property, most recent bank, investment, and retirement statements in their entirety. Contact information for your homeowner's insurance, proof of owner's title insurance. Usually this comes into play if you don't have a mortgage or have never had a mortgage on your home. This is usually a policy that is purchased when you purchase the home. And again, not all buyers have it, but in cases where you have never had a mortgage, it's very common for you to have that. And always remember that some institutions will require additional documentation. Once they have seen your application, more documents may be needed. Next slide, please. Qualifications. So when we get your application, that's also going to institute a credit check. So we're always going to want to make sure that if you have any credit freezes on your credit, that those are lifted so that we can obtain credit from all 3 credit bureaus. We're also going to look that you have ability to repay, that your income and assets will be reviewed. And we want to make sure that if your income is ever interrupted, that you have assets to fall back on should those be needed, excuse me. And then the collateral must be your primary or your second home in order to do a bridge loan or a home equity line of credit. Next slide, please. So we've talked about a traditional bridge loan, home equity line of credit. But for those of you that don't currently own a home, there's also an option of doing a stock portfolio secured loan. This is a great option if you prefer not to liquidate your investments due to potential tax or capital gain implications. You would want to reach out to your investment advisor to confirm that the investment firm does offer this type of a loan. The process can take extra time, so it's best to start those conversations early. Some banks and credit unions may offer this, although it's becoming less common where people are using their homes more as a form of equity. Again, products, terms, and rates will vary depending on what your investment company is able to do for you. And an important fact that retirement accounts, so any IRAs or any other retirement accounts, cannot be used as collateral. These are not eligible to be pledged for any type of loan. Next option, please. So you've heard from others this afternoon about the importance to surround yourself with people that you can rely on throughout this process. And I certainly echo that in choosing a right financial partner. The loan options that I've discussed today are not unusual, but you want to make sure that you work with someone that understands your goals and your timeline. The great place to start is with your financial institution that you already work with, or one that's been referred to you. Be sure that your lender that you choose can lend in your state or a state where the property is located. So for example, a community bank like Bath Savings, we can only lend in the state of Maine. So a larger bank may be able to lend in multiple states, but unfortunately, most of your community banks are very limited on being able to lend in their particular state. Also, you want to make sure that your financial partner clearly understands your timeline and the overall process so that there's no last minute surprises. Make sure your lender understands that a mortgage cannot be taken out on your new property at OceanView or Cumberland Crossing. And make sure that you let them know if your property is on the market, because as I mentioned at the beginning, some banks and credit unions don't allow for bridge loans to be done on properties that are in the market. Next slide, please. As I wrap up this afternoon, I want to thank you for being here and taking time to learn more about your financing options as you move to Cumberland Crossing and OceanView. This is certainly an exciting transition. It's important to have trusted partners who can guide you through each step clearly and with care. Please remember that no two financial situations are exactly alike. My goal, as always, is to help you understand your options, answer your questions, and make you feel confident in the path that works best for you. I'd be happy to speak with you individually about your specific circumstances. My contact information is included, and I encourage you to reach out to me at any time, whether you're in the early stages of planning or you're ready to move forward. I'm here to support you. Thank you again for joining us today, and a big thank you to Shireen and OceanView for hosting this wonderful event. And I look forward to connecting with you and helping you in your steps with your move to your new home. So thank you again for having us.
Thank you, Jean. It's always so nice to have you here. I don't have a lot of questions for you because I think you covered things so well, but I did want to, and I know the answer to this, but I'm not sure you said this, so I think it's helpful for people to know because you have so much history with so many of our residents. Can you work with people who are not currently Bath customers?
Yes, absolutely. They don't have to be a customer. Obviously, we would love to earn their relationship over time, and we have a wonderful account option for our OceanView customers and our Cumberland Crossing customers. And also, just a side note, one of our tellers visits OceanView every Tuesday morning
I love saying hi to her.
between 9 and 10. So if you ever need to cash a check or get quarters or just want to pop in and say hello, we do have someone that goes up there every Tuesday. So you don't need to be a customer, but we would love to earn your business.
That's a big question that people, when I suggest you to people, sometimes they're like, but I'm not a Bath customer. And I go, that's okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm sure we might get more before. I do have one for Sandra, but we'll do it later. That came in after we stopped. So I wouldn't surprise me if we get another one for Eugene. But we'll move on to Preston now. So Preston is from Bisson Moving and Storage. He's helped, I know, a lot of our residents here make the move to both of our campuses, to OceanView and Cumberland Crossing. So he'll walk through. Moving is a business, man. You have to think about a lot of things and ask a lot of questions. So I'll let Preston give you the ins and outs of that, and we'll take questions for Preston at the end. Thanks, Preston.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it and appreciate everyone sticking around today. Like Shireen said, moving is something that people usually only do a handful of times in their life. And so today I just want to go over the process, talk about a few things that you can do ahead of time to avoid making it more stressful or causing issues for you and your family as you start to relocate, and tell you a little bit about our company and how we operate. So I'll start my slideshow in a moment here. All right. Perfect. So some of the mistakes that I see folks make when they're starting to move is the first one is waiting until the last minute to start making arrangements or making phone calls. Summertime is a busy time of year for movers. I think about 60 to 70% of all the moves we do throughout a year take place between May and October. So calling in May and trying to get a mover for 2 weeks down the road um, is is not going to work out. Most movers are booked out 1 to 2 months in the summer. Um, so you want to just start conversations early. And then another common one is just making a decision based off pricing alone and going with the lowest quote that you get. There's just like any service industry, you price is obviously an important factor to consider, but do your homework and vet the company that you're working with, and the price may be the lowest and they may be a good company, but oftentimes if there's a big discrepancy between prices that you get, it would certainly raise some red flags, and so beware of that. Um, Another one is people underestimating how long it takes to pack and prep for the move. Obviously, folks from SimplySized are well aware of what goes into that, and if you've been in a home for a while and are starting to go through things, you might spend an afternoon going through a box of pictures and not really make any progress. So, kind of being aware of how that process will play out, and just be realistic with yourself and expectations. And then not labeling boxes is another big one that is small, but it has a big impact on how the move goes. So, if you see the picture on my left, there's a stack of boxes and they have some writing on them somewhere. But compared to the stack on the right, those boxes that we packed, it has the description of the item on the side so that when they're stacked up on a dolly, you can read them. You don't have to lift each box to see what was written on the top or guess where it goes to. Or, if we put boxes away and we put all the books in one space, but you want them in a different place because we didn't know they were books, it just creates a little extra work, and labeling them is easy to do ahead of time. And then the last one is just for not forgetting necessarily, but not anticipating closings, timings, and dates between the closings. So if you close on one property on a Thursday and your other closings on a Friday, you just have to plan for short-term storage, or sometimes we can hold your goods in the truck or warehouse temporarily until you're able to get into the new place. So yeah, those are just a few of the big ones I wanted to touch on to start. Things I see on a fairly regular basis, and we try to help make it a smoother process for everybody. So tell you a little bit about Bisson. Our company was founded in 1919 right here in Maine, in Bath, Maine. Had a horse-drawn wagon and eventually started adding trucks. Today we're one of the largest movers in Maine. We're an agent for Atlas Van Lines. This year we actually won their Milt Hill Award, which is the highest award that an Atlas agent can get. Out of about 400 agents, only about 50 received the award, and that factors in things like packing, estimating accuracy, claims ratios, all of that sort of thing. So we're pretty proud to have received that, and we worked really hard to get it. We're locally owned and operated. We have 2 locations in Westbrook and Brunswick, so we can cover cover the whole state and moves out of state into Maine. We've got dedicated customer service teams and after hours availability, which translates to calling or texting me on my cell phone, but I always answer because I know moving is can be crazy. We have our own warehouse space. We have over 90,000 square feet of space available. It's all heated. Our employees are background checked quite thoroughly, and we make sure that we follow this policy called no strangers in your home. And what that means is there's a background check that has to be done. All of our employees and helpers are vetted, and we're not sending in some ruffians into your home. They're all trusted, and most of them have many years of experience working with us. And our our kind of motto that we stand by is service that you can trust from people who care, and we live that every day. And it's our employees take a lot of pride in what they do. So the first part of the process is obviously choosing a reputable company. There's a few things you can do to kind of get the ball rolling on that. And the first is just ask around if you know someone that has moved recently. Certainly ask your realtor, friends and family. Just hey, who'd you use for a mover? How'd it go? And usually that type of feedback is the best and most honest feedback. Then you can dig in a little deeper, go online, check out reviews and the Better Business Bureau ratings, that sort of thing. Um, and I recommend getting 2 to 3 quotes from reputable movers. And reputable is kind of hard to pinpoint, but I would say one of the major van lines like Atlas, United, Mayflower, Allied, those companies are a little bit above the local company that may not be affiliated with a bigger van line. And the quotes should all be fairly comparable in terms of weight. Pricing should be pretty competitive. And then you want to make sure that they do a visual or an in-home survey of what you're having moved, and I'll talk about that in a couple of slides. And then you want to be cautious if a company's trying to get you to put down a big deposit. I had a call this morning with a woman. They called her, said, "How big's your house?" She says, "3 bedrooms." Okay, it's going to cost this. We need a deposit today, and they will pressure you to put down a deposit. We don't take deposits. Most major van lines do not. It's a policy. So that's one red flag to be aware of as well. And then the last thing is the FMCSA has a mover database that you can go in, and you can type in the name of the moving company or their DOT number or motor carrier number. And when you do that, it'll pull up all of their information. And so this next slide, I typed in Atlas, which we're Atlas Van Lines agent. So this kind of helps you weed out moving brokers. So brokers do not have any trucks or employees. Like I said before, they require a deposit. And then what they try to do is come in with a really low estimated weight to get you to want to do the move. And then they either don't show up or the price changes significantly. A lot of the stories you read about on the news are from moving brokers. They hold their goods hostage and they won't deliver it until you pay extra money, all of that. So this is a great tool, and a lot of people don't know about it. So if you typed in Atlas, all of these companies came up if you can see them. There's Atlas Moving Services, Atlas Relocation, Atlas Transfer. And what they try to do is it sounds similar to Atlas Van Lines. But look at the difference. This is the fleet size, 2,731 vehicles in the fleet. All of these are 1010. So these people don't even have trucks. And if you click on one, I clicked on Atlas Mover Group, you can get even more information about them. And it says right at the top, they're not authorized for the transportation of household goods. And you can see the number of trucks, all of that, and there's more information you can dig into. And then you go to Atlas Van Lines and it says they are authorized, all the information, the number of trucks, trailers, everything. So this is a really good tool to help vet um, moving companies as you start the process. And if it seems too good to be true right out of the gate, it usually is. So just be cautious of that as you get into planning your move. Um, so I mentioned before doing a survey of your goods. This is oftentimes done now over video, just because since COVID, a lot has changed, and we have some really cool tools that we can use to do a walkthrough if you have a smartphone. It does, it's not as intimidating as it may sound. And we can also do an in-person if you'd like, even if you're moving to Maine. We partner with Atlas agents around the country. So if you're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I can have an agent go out to your home and do a walkthrough with you in person. Um, and this is an important part of the process because it helps determine the weight, what you need for packing, if you need special services like crating, or if you have a sauna that needs to be disassembled, that sort of thing. You can also email pictures if it's a small move, you're moving into like a small apartment, that sort of thing. And then it identifies the items and the number of type of cartons that'll be needed. Um, and this is a good opportunity to go over questions and kind of get to know the moving company that you're working with. So on the moving day, the first thing we do, the crew will go through and introduce themselves. They'll do a walkthrough of your home with you just to get the layout, see what's being moved. Then they roll out the floor protection, make sure everything's covered. They have door jam protection that they'll put on and make sure that your house is well taken care of during the move. And they'll inventory everything. They do the basic disassembly of furniture, like take the legs off a dining room table or a dresser mirror off. Um, if you have more in-depth things like, say, like I mentioned, a sauna or a pool table, usually we can arrange to have a third-party service come in and do the disassembly of that and reassemble it on the other side. And then all the boxes will be loaded up. Everything will be transported to your destination, and then the process is reversed at your new home. So they'll put down the floor protection, do the reassembly, put everything in the room that you'd like it to be in. So for packing, there's a few different options that you can do. The first option is full pack or carrier pack. And basically we would show up and put everything into boxes, drawers, closets, everything, you name it. We'll put it into a box for you. You don't have to lift a finger. Then the other option is a partial pack, which a lot of folks like to do. They may have us pack the kitchen and artwork, and you pack shoes or books, easy things that you can put into a box without too much concern. And then the last option obviously is if you do all the packing yourself. And the only thing about this that I'd like to point out is that boxes that you pack the contents aren't covered by the full value protection, just because we don't know how well they were packed or the condition of the item before it was packed. Like if a picture had a broken frame already, we have no way of verifying that. Whereas if we pack it, we're taking ownership for any damage that might occur. Some good practices for packing is buy more boxes than you think you'll need. I know U-Haul will buy back boxes that you didn't use, so it's better to have extras on hand. Usually we recommend putting things like books or heavier items into the small boxes. Use the big boxes for things like clothes or lampshades, that sort of thing. I mentioned it earlier, but label the top and sides of the boxes, put your last name on it and your registration number. And you can either write the room that it's going to be placed in or the room it came out of. Usually it's the same thing, but that way people know right where to put it when they start delivering. And then we use a dedicated parts box, and that's where things like the remote controls go, wires to the TVs, all the little nuts and bolts when you take apart a bed. Everything gets labeled and put into this one box so that there's there's no tearing apart 10 different boxes trying to find the remote. We know we'll go look here, and keys to drawers on cabinets, all that type of thing. Um, and then we do recommend, like I said before, using actual moving boxes. Banana boxes and liquor boxes are are okay to use. They're just, you're not going to get them stacked up really well, and it's better to use an actual moving box, whether it's from Lowe's, Home Depot, U-Haul, etc. And then the other last option for packing, obviously, is just have us take care of it for you. No worries there. And if you need storage, a lot of folks are selling and moving into a new build or new home. Sometimes there's delays with construction, or whatever the need may be. We can store all of your goods in our heated warehouse. Everything is pad wrapped while it's kept in storage and inventoried. And then while when we schedule a delivery out of storage, we will load the vaults directly onto our trucks. We have side doors, so we can fit about 3 to 4 vaults on a truck, open the side door of the truck and pop the vault door open. So we can deliver it right from these containers to your residence. And if you're in Maine checking out your new place and you wanted to pop by and check out the warehouse and see the conditions of it, welcome to do that anytime. We take a lot of pride in our space, and it's inspected regularly by not only Atlas, but we have guidelines that we have to adhere to because we haul military shipments as well. So it's very clean and organized, and everything is kept safe while it's with us for as long as you need. Another common thing that we do is vehicle transporting. So this picture is of a customer's Camaro that they were moving. And in some cases, we're able to put the vehicle right in the moving van. Our driver will build, we call it decking, above the car, and they can fill it with the furniture and boxes on top of it without actually touching the car. And then most commonly, we use a vehicle transport like you see at a car dealership. And so they'll come and pick up your vehicle from your house, bring it up to Maine. If you have a higher end car, or you feel more comfortable having it in an enclosed trailer, we can arrange for that as well. And it's a little bit more expensive, but some people prefer to have it in a dedicated enclosed trailer for transport. But this is helpful if you don't feel like driving for 3 or 4 days. You can ship your car up, take a flight, and then get a rental car for a couple days until your vehicle gets up. And that saves a lot on hotels and obviously gas and that sort of thing. So we can include that right on your estimate. We deal with the whole thing. We set it up for you. So it makes it an easy process. A few different types of estimates that we have are non-binding estimates, binding, and assured price protection. Non-binding estimates are the final price is based on the actual services, so the weight and packing that we do. Binding estimates are the price that you're quoted is the price that you pay. And assured price protection estimates are kind of in between those two. So the price may be less than quoted, but it would not exceed the price. That's why they're called not to exceed estimates. And I think they each have their own, place in sometimes non-binding estimates get a bad rep. But if I give you an estimate for 10,000 pounds and packing 75 cartons, but you get rid of some things and do some more packing, and the final weight is 9,000 pounds and we only packed 40 cartons, the price is adjusted. If I'd done a buying estimate, then you'd still be charged for that extra weight and the packing. And like I said, the assured price protection is kind of the best of both worlds. So every customer is different and has their preferences, and we're happy to provide any variation of these that reflect your specific needs and wants. When to start planning, I think the fact that you're on this Zoom call alone is a great indicator and puts you ahead of the game from a lot of folks. I usually tell people once you kind of start this process of listing your home, get movers involved. We can make changes on the quote I just is important to keep them involved and start the process early. And I've redone quotes for people like 5 different times to make sure it reflects what's changed since our first call. And it's a lot easier to get the ball rolling when we've already got the survey done and everything in place ahead of time. So it's never too soon to start planning. And if you send me an email, I can send you a go new places moving kit. Has a checklist in there, some labels, some brochures, and then folder. Keep everything in there for your move and moving. Um, it's helpful to have everything in one place and kind of get you started on your organization and getting the ball rolling for the move. Um, so that's what I got for today. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to help. I know it's overwhelming, but I'm here to help and make it easier. Even if you don't use Bisson, I'm happy to help be a resource for you. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Preston. We have a few questions for you now. I bet you get
Sure.
calls later on, but let's start with this new one. This one is a little different than a move to OceanView, but is it possible to move one heirloom item to a relative several states away? How would this be done?
Yeah, no, we do that. We do that all the time. If there's an estate sale or something like that, or there's just one piece that you need shipped, we do that all the time.
Neat.
And
So
it's
we just
it's
call and talk to you about it?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
that's awesome. Okay. Um, and does it go like with a different truck? Like, is it maybe time? Would it go with another transport so that you're not sending a single truck for a single item? Is that how, so you'd sort of tack it on to something else or?
So, not to get too deep into the weeds here, uh, the moving has changed quite a bit over the past several years, where it used to be a lot of times we'd have tractor trailers doing entire moves with, 2 or 3 moves on them. And people have been downsizing, moves have gotten smaller. So to fill a tractor trailer nowadays may need 4 or 5 or 6 shipments on there. And we don't want to keep customers waiting, and we want to keep our drivers rolling. So there's a couple changes that have happened. One is a lot of our drivers have switched to using a truck like this, which we call a straight truck, instead of a tractor trailer. So they're doing these smaller moves in a box truck, which is more efficient. Um, and then the other option that we have been doing a lot of is containerizing things. So we'll pad wrap everything and get it crated, and then we send the crate to one of our agents, and that agent will deliver it to residents. And that is really cost effective, and it keeps the transit times down much quicker as well.
Hmm, okay, that's good to know.
Yep,
Where is your storage warehouse?
it is in Westbrook.
It's in Westbrook. Okay, that was a
Yep.
question. Another one was what happens to all the used boxes and packing materials? Are you guys recycling or reselling for, or making available to people?
Yeah, so a lot of times it does generate a lot of cardboard and paper, as the folks from SimplySized can attest to. Um, and we recycle everything, first of all. And I have customers that will request used moving boxes. And usually if I can arrange for it and set it up, we'll give away the materials for free for the used ones instead of recycling them. Um, so we aside from like tape and shrink wrap, everything gets recycled or reused if we can.
Awesome. Okay. And then this last one, you said you can work with people who are starting from another part of the country, because not everyone moving to Ocean View and Cumberland Crossing are local or even in the state of Maine. Should
Mhm.
they, if they're interested in working with Bisson, would they start with you or start looking for an atlas in their local area? How would that work?
So we're an agent for Atlas Van Lines, and you if you were moving from out of state into Maine, that's a big part of what I do. I would say probably 50 to 60% of my moves are what I call inbound moves to Maine. And so I can work with an Atlas agent in any state to help coordinate the move if I need help, if we don't have one of our drivers available to pick it up directly. Um, and part of the benefit of that is that, for one thing, you're working with someone that has a relationship with OceanView and is involved with them in the process, and quite frankly cares about the relationship. And so I go out of my way to make sure that it's a smooth move, and I'm very involved throughout the process to make sure. Not saying you wouldn't get a great move through another company or another Atlas agent, but we value this relationship and we make sure that it's a smooth move for anybody coming in and getting a new home here in Maine.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Another one just came through. If Simply Size does the packing, does that mean it's a DIY packing for your breakage guarantee?
So short answer is yes, it would be considered a packed by owner carton. Um, but I know SimplySized has their own programs to cover items that they've packed for the move.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Great. I think those are all the questions. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So I'll
It's
have
been a
you
great
stick
afternoon.
around. Now y'all get to listen to me yammer. Um, so I'll do my little part about all the paperwork we ask of you. And then we'll open it up broadly for questions. Jean and oh yeah, you guys can click out for a second and come back. I hopefully won't take too long. I only have a few slides. So Dustin's going to put those up for me because I can't drive and talk at the same time, apparently. Am I doing something? Oh, there we go. If you want to move to the next slide already. So a lot of people have asked us over the years, what does it look like? Like, what am I trying to do when I'm moving to OceanView? What are you going to ask of me? What are you going to need from me? So I'm just going to kind of walk through the process. You're contacted by a marketing staff team member. It could be me, it could be Rita, it could be Gloria, it could be Josh. You just never know who it would be. And these are the things I would encourage you to have sort of in the back of your mind if you've told us you're ready to hear from us, so that you're ready and you're not shocked or surprised and having to scramble if you do want to make a move, if you see something that works perfectly for you in one of our communities. So I would encourage you to sort of be sure you're talking to your financial advisor on how you would make the finances work if you were to next month receive a call that says, come look at this beautiful cottage or apartment. We'd love for you to consider it. Um, if you've been on our wait list and if you are looking at a resale here at OceanView, meaning an existing home, you are on our wait list. And as many of you know, our wait list can be 4+ years. It can be 2 years. It really all depends on the unit that is being offered. But we're asking you to make a decision pretty quickly after we've shown it to you, whether we show it to you in person. If you live at a distance, we are happy to do a FaceTime or Skype tour with you so that you can decide whether it makes sense to come here, or sometimes people send their family members to do the reconnaissance work. But we do ask you to make a pretty quick decision. We have a contract that's called a residence and care agreement. We have a couples addendum if that applies to your situation, because sometimes we do have two people moving in together, whether it's a married couple, unmarried couple, and there's an application. At this point, if you're really thinking of moving forward, we would need you to initiate your medical form. We do ask for your medical files from your doctor, not because we, make them public, is so that we can create a file of life for you that has all of your pertinent medical information, and we make that available in your apartment or cottage should emergency services ever need to come to your home. So we're keeping track of that so that you have that information handy for any emergency services. Keep in mind, the residence and care agreement requires a witness. So if you're being very quiet about a move, you might want to know who in the back of your mind you would ask to be that witness. I've had some people who don't want their neighbors to know right away that they're moving. We here can serve as your witness if you're local. I can sign and be your witness. Rita can, anyone at our front desk can. but co-applicants cannot witness for each other. So again, just keep that in the back of your mind. The application does ask for a financial snapshot at the end. We don't ask for statements. We don't require an affidavit from your financial advisor, but we are just wanting to make sure that you're not putting yourself in any kind of negative financial situation. And with a resale, we would be asking for a 10% deposit when we take your contracts in. If you're doing new construction, it's a slightly different step-by-step process. You're paying as you go through the building, as you reserve your site in new construction, which many of you know we're in the middle of right now. You're paying in installments. But with a resale, you're doing that 10% down. We can move to the next slide now, Dustin. We ask you for a lot more paperwork, and I will tell you, we've all experienced this in this office, where when people are all of a sudden getting ready to move and it's a quick move, you can't remember where your power of attorney is or your copy of your healthcare directive might live. We ask for those things. So if you're in ready status with us, or you're a builder right now, meaning you're in the process of moving here, just know that we are going to need a copy of your power of attorney and a copy of your healthcare directive. We keep that in a master file here. We also ask for a personal care representative form, which is signed by both you and your emergency contact that you identify in that form, so that they know if ever there is an emergency, we might be calling them, so it wouldn't be a surprise. We also will ask you before you move in to provide proof of renters or contents insurance, excuse me. It is different companies call it different things. Some call it renters, some people call it contents. We also ask you to have a liability or an umbrella component, a liability policy of $500,000. Especially important if you are bringing a pet. As many of you know, we are pet friendly, but we ask everyone to have that liability, not just pet owners. The medical form is filled out by your physician. We provide a form and a waiver that you sign to give to your physician, which allows them to provide that information to us. We can fax it to them for you after you sign it, or you can hand deliver it to them. And then they are given a private fax number to send that information back to. It doesn't go to our general fax machine. It goes to our wellness office. Next slide. The pet agreement, I just said we're pet friendly. We are, and there is a deposit. Here's the other thing. We ask everyone to list a godparent, if you will, for their pet, meaning someone who will be responsible for that pet should you not be able to care for the pet, or if you pass away. None of us here wants to be responsible for rehoming a pet. So, of course, I'd probably bring all of them home to my house to ask the staff. I probably would do that. But it's better if you have someone who knows your pet, be that godparent, and they will be asked to sign that form as well. If you want to bring a dog to our community, we do need to confirm that your dog is appropriate for the setting. So we do a little interview to make sure that a dog, especially in one of our apartment buildings, could be a good fit for being around other residents and other dogs for that matter. We don't want anyone to be in an uncomfortable situation. If you have a trust and you want your entrance fee refund when you leave your apartment or cottage to go back to that trust, we need to know that. Our current contract speaks to going to you directly if you are still living, or to your estate if you have passed away. So we need to create an addendum to your residence and care agreement or your contract that says it's going to a trust. In order to do that, we need a copy of your trust and a certificate of trust. And we have our attorney draw up a new form that adds that caveat that says this entrance fee will be returned to this trust. We can go to the next slide. Sometimes when we're doing a resale, residents might want to make changes in the new home that they're going to move into. We will know when we're showing it to you what we're planning to make for changes. We typically, if carpeting needs to be replaced, we we do that. If countertops need to be replaced, we do that. If they aren't something that we were planning to replace because they're in fine condition, but you would like to upgrade them or update them, we will work with you on those things. Also, if we're going to change them and you're fine with new carpeting, if the timing is right and we've connected with you before we're making all the revisions, we might invite you to choose the carpet color and choose the flooring, the color or the tile color or countertops or appliances for that matter. We have set vendors with whom we work, so just to understand that we would have you work with the vendors that we work with. Next slide. We work with our maintenance staff to assign a date where we anticipate that the home is ready for you to move into. And it's at that point that we ask you to take what we call financial responsibility for the unit, which means you've paid the 90%. You've paid the whole entrance fee. You're starting your monthly fee on that date. You're starting your responsibility for any utilities on that date. But we will let you know what that date is as soon as we can based on the work we're doing in the home. If you want to move in later, you can, but we don't base your financial responsibility date on the date you're planning to move in. I've had some people who have waited a year to move in, and that's fine, but we do assign that financial responsibility date so that you know it, and know that that's when your responsibility for those different expenses begins. The next slide. Oh, see, I told you I'd be quick. I only see one question for me. Why would renter's insurance be needed for your assisted living house, especially if the resident isn't bringing a pet? This is for the independent side. I'm not sure who this is, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you live on the phone if that would be easier, or even have you talk to our Falmouth House assisted living consultant. We don't insure your belongings. So we insure the building, but we don't insure your belongings. So if something ever happened to your belongings through something that either you created or something that we had no control over, we'd want to make sure that your belongings were protected by insurance. So that would be the answer to that. I'm not seeing any other questions for me. So I think we can bring everyone back. And I only have one question in the box right now, and it's for Sandra. And Sandra, someone asked, what is a typical broker commission and is it negotiable?
Well, that's a big one.
I know, you're getting the hard ones today.
No, it's all good. Yes, commissions are negotiable. If anyone tells you they're not, it's illegal. They have to be negotiable. But I guess, when I sit down with folks and I go over what we're doing for them, I always ask one question. And it's that, are you looking for an agent who's going to be a strong negotiator, someone who's going to work hard with you to get the highest possible price for your property, provide top-notch marketing, and ensure a smooth transaction, who's experienced? Because your home's a tremendous asset. And I'm guessing you're all probably shaking your head. Yes, I want someone who's going to protect me and do the best possible job that they possibly can. So that being said, keep in mind that an agent who's quick to reduce their commission, that's their own personal paycheck, will also probably be pretty quick to reduce the net proceeds of the sale of your home. And that's something that I usually say it comes with inexperience. They get nervous, and you're not getting the full experience and the full marketability and enhancing the value of your property. So be very careful. Answering the question on what is the typical commission. Commissions typically range anywhere from 4 to 7%. But be aware that some of the agents offering a low rate, like somebody who came in and met with you who said 4%, they may not be including a buyer's agent commission, and they may not have even had that conversation with you. So when you receive an offer, all of a sudden you have an offer, you're excited to purchase your home, and now somebody's asked for a buyer's agent commission of 3%. And your commission that you thought was 4% just very quickly became, anywhere from 6.5% to 7%. So you had a perceived savings with someone who was quick to discount, and now you've actually lost some. So just be very careful on that. We do recommend paying a buyer agent fee. Because basically when I'm showing a property, I always ask if the seller is offering a buyer agency fee. If they say no, I have the conversation with my buyer that the seller's not willing to pay your buyer agent fee. And we either put it into the offer, if my buyer doesn't have the funds to pay for it, or if I have a buyer that does have the resources, they've now just decided that they're going to offer less on your property. So ultimately, it does end up coming out of your pocket. So just be smart about not choosing somebody just because their commission is lower.
That's a great answer. I'm not seeing any other questions. They thanked you for that detailed response, Sandra. I will say, as a reminder, my colleague Dustin Bonk here at OceanView will be sending out an email to everyone who signed up. So we have your email address, of course, and we will send you the link to the recording of this meeting. You'll also get, I don't know if it's links or attachments, it's all different, changes all the time, for all of the presentations. I know with my presentation, there will actually be 2 extra pieces. We have a checklist for all of our new residents, whether they're a buyer, or builder, excuse me, who are doing new construction, or they're doing a resale here. We have 2 different checklists. So those will be included with what we send to you. And I know all of these wonderful speakers have listed their contact information in their presentation so that you can quickly reach out to them if you'd like to. But we thank you for being here today. We can't wait to welcome you to OceanView or Cumberland Crossing. I know these folks will be very happy to work with you if you'd like to work with them. They're always very gracious to work with us to do this every year, because I know it's a 2-hour event. I tell people when they're going to do the recording to bring the popcorn, because it's 2 hours. And we thank these guys for doing this with us. So I'm going to sign off now. Please, 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 you can always call us with questions or comments, or any, if you just need something clarified, give us a call and we will do that. But thank you and take good care. Thanks again, speakers. We appreciate you.